All right, we will go ahead and take this next caller. Caller, you are live on the air. Please tell us your name, where you're calling from.
Hi, this is Van from Cincinnati, Ohio.
Welcome, Van.
I've called before. Have another question.
Sure, go ahead.
I know the issue's been discussed, but I'm still not clear about something concerning Bethlehem and Nazareth. I don't understand. My understanding is that Nazareth and Nazarene, those words are nowhere to be found in the Old Testament. Bethlehem is mentioned in, I think it's Micah 5. Why do New Testament writers feel a need to connect the Messiah, specifically Jesus, to Nazareth? Since it's not mentioned in the Old Testament, if the rabbi could clear up why there's a need to get a connection between Jesus and Nazareth, I'd appreciate that.
Okay. Yeah, very good. Go ahead and hang up now. Get tuned in for your answer. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
All right,
Bye.
Ben.
I don't think you have any idea how important this is. I know that sounds a little presumptuous. This is huge. The reason why Nazareth is so prominent in the Christian Bible, and it's so important that I'm not referring to Matthew 2:23, he shall be called a Nazarene when the passage doesn't exist. I don't mean that. But in the New Testament, Jesus is called Jesus of Nazareth. He's not called Jesus of Bethlehem, right? So that Nazareth thing is really important. And you're asking the question, how did that ever make its way into the Christian Bible when the town of Nazareth, it wouldn't be the town of Nazareth, it would be like a one-horse town. If what archaeologists believe was discovered in the last 30 years in the Upper Galilee is the ancient Nazareth from 2,000 years ago, it literally was a one-horse town. It was a nothing town in the Upper Galilee. I mean, nothing. Okay. If that, in fact, is. I'll just take their word for it. If it was no city or town called Nazareth, then the mythicists are correct. The people who think that there's just no such thing as Jesus, never was, and it's completely invented like Romulus, the founder of Rome, then they're correct. It really does hinge on that. The answer why the city of Nazareth comes up, like what good thing can come out of Nazareth in the Gospels? It's very unlikely that would be invented, like what good thing can come from Nazareth, because Nazareth was a nothing town. I'm trying to I'm trying to think of a city in America. Jamaica, Queens. just if you're from Jamaica, forgive me, but when you land in Kennedy, it's not pretty. Nobody flies into Kennedy going, Kennedy Airport. What a pleasure to see Kennedy. Every time I see Kennedy, it's the biggest joy. I love the, I don't know, Akron, Ohio. So it's very clear that this Nazareth is coming up over and over again, and the Gospels, specifically Matthew and Luke, are trying their darndest to figure out how to create a story, plot device to get Jesus to be born in Bethlehem. And as it turns out, Matthew and Luke will come up with two opposite plot devices, because everybody knows he's from Nazareth. How do you get him born in Bethlehem? For Matthew, the family's originally from Bethlehem. And then eventually, later on, makes their way much later on to Nazareth, because they can't return to Bethlehem because Herod Archelaus is a crazy man, which he was, and they have to go to an area which was not under the control of Herod Archelaus. See Matthew chapter 2. Luke reverses that and has the family originally from Nazareth go down to Bethlehem because of a census that never happened of the empire, and you had to go back to where your family's from. I don't want to go off the track here. And Jesus was born in a barn, in a manger, where horses eat from, and then they make their way right back to Nazareth, where they came from, with a short stop in Jerusalem. As it turns out, if you drew a line between Bethlehem and Nazareth, you'd pretty much pass over Jerusalem, which is very, very close to Bethlehem. You could walk from Jerusalem to Bethlehem. It would be a long walk, but it would be fine. It's not that far away at all. Very close, both in Judea. Judea is big, but these are really close. So everybody knows Nazareth. And if you want to even insert Bethlehem in there, you've got to come up with the most convoluted stories possible, which Matthew and Luke alone did. And in fact, John wants nothing to do with that whole convoluted idea, and John dismisses Bethlehem in a backhand way in John chapter 7. So the question is, why is Nazareth there? And the answer is, it's not for theological reasons. The reason why Nazareth is there is because that's where Jesus really was from. That's what conveys that Jesus was a historical figure. And that's why I said at the outset, if the town of Nazareth does not exist, and what is thought to be Nazareth, the 2,000-year-old Nazareth, is not really that and something else, then Jesus never existed, and everybody knows that. By the way, the city of Nazareth was a fairly large city in the land of Israel, largely a Christian Arab city. That's a modern-day Nazareth. That's not the Nazareth, okay? So we're going to assume that there was a historical figure named Jesus, and then all this mythology was created around him. But the Nazareth part is real. That means you have this figure who's born in the beginning of the first century, according to Luke. According to Matthew, Jesus was born in the year roughly 6 BCE, because in Matthew's version, Jesus was born before Herod the Great died in the year 4 BCE, and because of, it's a little complicated, because he had to be less than 2, so it's about 6 BCE. My Rabbi used to say that according to Matthew, Jesus was born 6 years before the Common Era. In any event, the Gospels don't even agree on when he was born, and it's not like they're off by months, they're off by a decade. I mean, really off. But the interesting thing is that why is everybody going back to Nazareth? Why is Nazareth everywhere? And why is Jesus called Jesus of Nazareth? Why not Jesus of Bethlehem? Why is it so important in Matthew's plot device to get Joseph and the family not to return to Judea, which we are told is his home in Matthew? There's no inn and manger. None of that stuff exists in Matthew, because in Matthew's story, Jesus, that's where the family came from. There was no Nazareth prior. Nazareth is only a place to escape to when Herod Archelaus replaces his father. Herod Archelaus is going to be removed by the Roman Empire because he was a psychopath. He slaughtered thousands of Jews famously a number of times during the Passover. Don't ask. If you want to follow Occam's razor, which means the fewest hypotheses, the simplest route here is that Nazareth is a one-horse town in the upper Galilee that really is a nothing of a nothing, and therefore nobody mentions it, not Josephus, not the Talmud, not Tanakh, none of that. He really was from Nazareth, which was a nothing fishing village. It was a place that was quite removed from the city, quite removed from Jerusalem, just removed from everything. It was a place, an area also, that produced people that were illiterate. And we see other people in the Christian Bible, like Peter, and that the Christian Bible says they were completely illiterate in Acts chapter 4, verse 13. If you came from the villages, from the outskirts, you didn't speak, you certainly couldn't write, So that's the deal. I know this is counterintuitive. Nazareth is everywhere in the Christian Bible because the Nazareth part is true. It's the historical part. And Matthew and Luke were stuck with Nazareth. Because if Jesus never existed and Nazareth never existed, Why do you need these elaborate plot devices to get Jesus to grow up in Nazareth? Why are you stuck with Nazareth? If you're making it up and Jesus is a made-up figure or he was from somewhere else, why the convoluted stories? Why not just say he was from Bethlehem, like King David was from Bethlehem? And that's why they're trying to get them into Bethlehem, because of 1 Samuel 17, that King David was from Bethlehem. You're right, it's all over the place. So there's your answer. The fact that Nazareth is in the Christian Bible repeatedly and spoken of derisively, that conveys to me that there was an historical figure, and he's not made up out of thin air, like, as I mentioned, Romulus. There was no such person. He's a mythical figure completely. The existence of Nazareth in the Christian Bible over and over again, and the plot devices that Matthew and Luke have to engage in order to get Jesus to be born in Bethlehem, that are completely convoluted and completely contradictory. And these stories are more contradictory than the Passion narratives. The most contradictory texts in the Christian Bible are not found in the Passion narratives, and they are loaded with ridiculous contradictions. It's the infancy narratives that even evangelical scholars concede that are virtually impossible to work out. And they are impossible to work out. So Nazareth is there because it's real, because it's a real place, and then they have to deal with it somehow. And that exposes the Christian Bible for what it is. That is a Bible filled with all kinds of fake stories. With the Bethlehem, that's the lie to draw people into it and to have Jesus born in the city of David. Thank you for that question.